Hey guys, welcome back. So this is a quick update here. I'm getting ready to print the C-3PO hands out of some TPU, flexible filament. I got this, it's Sane Smart TPU filament in black. I figure it could work with the Death Star droid right out of the box if it looks reasonably decent. So this is what I'm going to start with. I initially wanted to print these on the Prusa. However, it is slightly too short. There's about 15 millimeters too much of fingertips to print the hand on the Prusa, unless I lean it way over, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to take a stab at printing this on the Creality CR10 S5. Probably better to do on the ANET, but I have this new printer sitting there that I haven't used, so I'm going to try it. Now, an issue with TPU filaments is they're really flexible and bendy, and sometimes they don't work well through Bowden extruders, which is what is on the CR10. The Prusa has a direct extruder. The extruder motor is right above the actual the nozzle, so that makes a little bit of a difference, but we're going to try it anyway. So right now I'm setting up a profile for the CR10 with some new extruder nozzles. This is a 0.8 millimeter nozzle. I just installed one of these on the printer, and I got a whole bunch of other ones. I got a 1 millimeter nozzle and everything from a 0.2 all the way up to a 1 millimeter nozzle. I've got a whole range. So what I think I'm going to do is outfit the ANET E10 with the 0.6 millimeter nozzle and the Prusa with either the 0.8 or the 1 millimeter. I'm going to do the 0.8 right now to see speed advantages of that and see how it goes. But I'm going to try to print the TPU. It might be a big disaster, but we will see. So let's get to it. So I had a little bit of issue with the perimeter and the brim. This bottom part seems to be sticking okay for now, but we'll see in a little bit. I had to do a little bit of tweaking to the filament to get it to start printing better. It's actually seems like it's coming out okay right now. I put the flow up to 135% as opposed to 100, so up the flow and up the temperature. This filament prints between 200 and 210, I believe, and I put it at 240 because I am running a 0.8 millimeter nozzle here. So I put it up to 240 just so it can handle the extra output, and the flow is at 135. And it actually looks like it's coming on pretty good. I mean, look at that. The surface is actually pretty good considering the size of the nozzle. I didn't go huge on the layer height. This is still a 0.3 millimeter layer height. So we are at 15% now. 1 hour, 27 minutes. Which is about that far along. I think it looks pretty freaking good. Now there's some print lines in the light. You can see it in the highlights pretty good, but when you're about this far away, even standing here, they're not as noticeable. I think they're actually a little more noticeable on camera. Alright, we are at 31%. It's cranking away here. Looks pretty freaking good, honestly. There's a little bit of stringing on the inside where I put the holes for the snaps, because on the actual glove there are snaps that go across the palm there, and a little latch or some kind of little piece that holds them shut. And I've made the holes so I can add the snaps if I want. I don't know if I ever will, but they're there if I want them. But you can see that where the snaps were, I got a little bit of stringing from the retraction. I'm imagining I'll probably end up with some between the fingers as well, but we will see. So yeah, not even 3 hours in, over 30%, looking good. On my giant printer, look how big this printer is, holy cow. Well, we are at 82%, and something went really wrong. It looks like it came loose. Yeah, it came loose from the print bed. It didn't have a good bind on there before, which is super unfortunate to have gotten so far. So we are going to cancel this. Stop print. There we go, and that's it. I'll print another one, but man, so far it came out pretty good. Minus that, so I got to make sure that the base is a little better attached before on the next version. It sucks that I wasted all that filament. So sad. But made it all the way to the thumb. A lot of stringing going on with this stuff. So this is a thing to check, and it's pretty strong. So that's a thing to consider. That sucks. All right, let me try this out. So, as you just saw, the first print is kind of a failure. Kind of. I say kind of because this happened. Obviously, that sucks. However, the material feels really, really good. This is pretty much exactly how I want the material to feel. So, let's see if it fits. Now, the way I did this, I intend to chop this bottom piece off about, I don't know, you can kind of see where there's a little fine line here, real hard to see, where that'll be kind of the trim line where the original hand would go. But I have already added the slit to the print. So that opens up. Let's see if I can actually get my hand in here or not. There's a lot of stringing across the areas that didn't print. So I'm trying to get my fingers past that stuff. This is kind of a good test because I can see the thumb came out all the way. Hi guys. The thumb actually worked all the way to the top, which is good. Look at these strings. This stuff is pretty strong. It doesn't just snap off. So if I have to go back and trim the stringiness and work on retraction issues with this filament because it's a little bit much. It doesn't leave much of a trace behind when it comes off. So the finger mod for the thumb seems to work all right. Like my thumb fits better than it does on the cast hands. Actually, fitment wise is really good. This looks like a, hey guys, check out my fingers. It's like one of those fingerless gloves, those cool ones from the 80s. But yeah, so far it's actually pretty good. I might, for the next version, actually make it a little bit thinner because this thickness is pretty nice, but I think I can actually go a hair thinner in some sections. This is unfortunate, but this is how it goes. Sometimes when you're experimenting, things do not work the way that you planned. So you can see I've added the little knuckle greeblies so that they will print as part of the same piece. Turn on polyframe, and this is the hollow version. See inside. This is try number 2. I made this a little bit thinner, so this is about 1 millimeter thick, a little tiny bit less. So it should be pretty thin and hopefully relatively flexible, easy to put on, and hopefully it will make it through the printing process. Looks like the second one finished. Oh my gosh. A lot of stringing. We'll take care of that. So cool. Alright, we now have a completed C-3PO flexible hand, fully 3D printed, and I think it came out pretty good. Now, I did a real quick removal of all that stringy stuff, so it's a little messy on the surface. That needs a little more cleanup, or a lot more cleanup, but you get the gist. And I'll go into some stuff about the stringiness and quality in a moment, but let's do the test. There's a few strings on the inside too, but my fingers have broken through them pretty easily. There we go. Now it is a wearable, flexible C-3PO hand. Now some of you might be saying, well, that's not very much flex. Well, this is actually a pretty accurate amount of flex to what is on the movie suits, especially the suits from Empire, Return of the Jedi, and the prequels. This is about what the hand's movement was capable of, minus a few pairs where they actually cut out some of the palm to give a little bit more flexibility. You'll see it in like episode 2 has one where they really chopped them up. But for the most part, this is how they are. So when you see C-3PO doing stuff, his hand is kind of in this pose always. So in that regard, I'm very happy because it feels and shape-wise it looks very accurate. It fits really good. A couple little things based on the mods that I did. I'm happy with all of them. And there's one that I would back off a little bit. Like I extended the tip of the thumb a little bit, and I don't think I needed to go quite as far. I think I could probably go halfway from the original to my new thumb tip and just split the difference. And I think that would be about perfect for me. But everything else worked really well. It fits great. Now, looking at the other hand that failed, this hand here weighs, without the fingers, a little more than this one does, and it's because the wall thickness was quite considerable, which I probably wouldn't have noticed as much had it not failed. So sometimes a failure can be a good thing. Like in this situation, I was able to still try the hand on, even though it was missing the fingertips, and notice, like, okay, it's a little too beefy. So this was 1.5 millimeters thick on the walls, and this one is only 0.8. Now, I am printing this with a 0.8 millimeter nozzle on the Creality CR10, which comes with its own set of issues because the Creality CR10, it's not the CR10, it's the CR10 S5, which is the huge printer. And an issue, which I probably mentioned earlier, with printing flexible filament with a bowed-in extruder is that the flexible filament can stretch and contract. You can compress it and contract it. Compress, contract, compress, and stretch. I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. And so what the problem is that the extruder motor and the extruder where the head is, where the actual heater is, and the nozzle is way over here, and the motor's here, and there's a long tube that the filament has to run through. So you're pushing the filament here, and that filament can compress in the tube before it comes out of the extruder. And that causes issues because you have to turn the flow up on this more than I would if it was printing like PLA or something, just to compensate for that extra push that it has to do to get the filament to come out. And then normally when the little nozzle would lift up, the extruder would lift up and move to the next point, like if it's making the fingers, it's making a little circle and then a circle and a circle. Every time it has to lift up and go between the pieces, it usually would retract the filament a little bit. But because there's so much compression on the filament, even though it's retracting at the motor, the filament, it doesn't do anything because it's still all compressed inside the tube. So this would probably have printed way, way better on the Prusa, but as I mentioned earlier, the Prusa is too short by about 15 millimeters too short to print this unless I angle it down or change the setting, which I may do in the future, but I have another solution, which is I think I'm going to get my A-net printer set up to do these prints, and it also has a Bowden extruder, but the actual tube is so much shorter because it's a much smaller printer than the CR10 S5. And that means that even though it's a Bowden extruder, there's way, way less filament running through. So I think it'll be more responsive to the retraction, especially if I slow it down a little bit. So I'm going to get that one set up and do some more tests on that. But I am going to go ahead and print the left hand to match a hummingbird outside my window. I'm going to go ahead and print a left hand to match this. And I am also going to print a set of feet. And you might be like, aren't you going to make that foot mold? Yes, I will still be making the foot mold. But by printing a set for myself, I can actually determine whether I have scaled them correctly and figure out any issues I have before I print that complex mold. So, yeah, I may have mentioned that earlier. I can't remember. I'm making this video over like 2 days wearing the same clothes because I'm a hobo, but anyway, here it is. 3D printed C-3PO hand. Fits like a glove. Oh, God, kill me. All right, see you guys soon. Later. Oh, almost forgot. I will post these to Thingiverse, but they are a work in progress. So I'm going to do one quick mod before I post them. So check in the link below in the description. And as soon as they're up there, I will add the link to the files. So be on the lookout. Okay, again, bye, thanks, bye, later.